Gabe Harris writes for collegefootballnews.com, and that's part of the Scout.com network. Gabe, thanks for your time this afternoon. I think in most of SEC country, be it Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, I think everybody's just ready to get through the next 59 days.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're definitely ready over here. I know we're counting down the days as you are, 59. Hard to believe we're getting there, but it's coming around the bend.
Yeah, I tell you what, for a lot of fans right now, and this is a problem at Alabama, Georgia had a problem today, now Arkansas with another linebacker trouble. We've reached that stretch in the summer where the players are kind of on their own. They're still working with strength and conditioning coaches, but we're seeing problems off the field. Legal issues for some of these programs cropping up. And at Arkansas at linebacker, now with the latest incident with Wendell Davis, Arkansas's got some real drastic scheming issues with their defense now.
Yeah, they definitely need to. I know they've had some problems last year on defense. They need everybody they can get. And, they've had problems on the other side with Michael Smith at running back. He's had his problems. But that's the thing. No news is good news around this time of the year. And so down here in Alabama, we're half and half with no news. So Auburn's seeming to stay out of trouble. Alabama is not down here. So it's definitely a tough thing. And, it distracts from the team and what they're supposed to be doing here, in the summer, getting ready for two-a-days.
Any more fallout on the Jimmy John situation that's, a week or 10 days old now?
Nothing really new this past week. I know they have, I believe they're about to set his court date, which should be right before two-a-day start. So, he is off the team. I'm sure he's probably not in contact with any of the players or coaches. And all the news out of Tuscaloosa is that he is, off the team and will not be back no matter what happens, it sounds like. Even if he, for some reason, is acquitted of these charges, I doubt he'll be back.
Let's start with the University of Alabama this afternoon. You've laid out some keys in your recent column at collegefootballnews.com. John Parker Wilson. When you think of quarterbacks in the SEC, Tebow quickly comes to mind and should with the Heisman Trophy. Matthew Stafford comes to mind, and then you say, well, who's the third best quarterback in the league? Is this the guy? Is J.P. Wilson the guy at Alabama that going into the year is third best in the SEC?
Well, I think he should be. But that doesn't necessarily. I think he's got the talent to be the third best quarterback in the SEC, but that often doesn't translate to the field. You'll have days where, like Tennessee last year, where he looks like the best quarterback in the SEC period, and then he'll have games like he did against Mississippi State and Auburn last year where he can't even complete a pass, cannot even get his feet set in the pocket. So I think he has the talent to be the third best quarterback, but getting that on the field and doing it on a week-to-week basis is something he hasn't seemed to grasp yet, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to.
Alabama certainly, had the disappointing non-conference loss late in the year, and I'm sure Nick Saban has heaped a lot of pressure on his own shoulders. But this fan base is famous for providing their own twist of the wrench when it comes to pressure in the state of Alabama. What are the expectations for the Crimson Tide amongst their fan base as far as wins? What's the number that the fan base is bantying around at this point?
Well, a lot of the Alabama fans here in Birmingham, as you might expect, are predicting SEC championship this year. Though there are some realistic fans out there that seem to think 7 to 8 wins is the norm. Their road schedule is too tough. They have to play Clemson in Atlanta, which will be a tough game right off the bat. I can't see them winning more than 7 ball games, I think. And that's probably at best. It just depends. I think Clemson will be tough, Georgia will be tough, LSU, Tennessee, and Auburn are going to be tough for them. I think they can beat Tennessee if they can do that, 8-4. But Georgia, Clemson, LSU, and Auburn, I think, are going to be too tough and too deep for Alabama this year. They just don't have enough depth, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Is 7? Is that acceptable when you're paying Nick Saban $4 million?
I wouldn't think so.
3 point, just under 4.
I think it's even gone up. I know he averages $4 million, but I think he's gone up a little bit this year. So that's probably not money well spent. Right now I think he's getting about what they paid him so far. He's about $1 million a win. So that's probably not going to cut it. I think this year they might accept. If they can get to 8 wins, I think that would probably, once again, they would feel that heading in the right direction, and if they can have another recruiting class like they did last year, then I think that they'll feel that they're in the right direction. But if they lose to all of the big teams on their schedule, especially if they lose to Auburn again, I think you'll begin to hear some rumblings.
You're high on Cody Burns at Auburn. This is a kid that many in our listing area are familiar with because he played his high school football here. You think Cody is the main ingredient this year to an Auburn successful season?
I think he is. Right now, everything you hear from Tony Franklin and Tuberville are that it's going to be a 50-50 split, and depending on the situation, that they will play them both equally. They're going to have to keep Cody in more of a shotgun because that's more of a threat. They are going to run some I formation this year. They're estimating probably 10 to 15 plays a game out of the, say, 80 they want to average are going to be in an I formation, and you'll see Todd in most of those. But I think Tuberville, wants Cody Burns to take this job and take a hold of it and have that one quarterback. I think Todd is just a good safety net because Burns could be the quarterback for the next 3 years for Auburn. I think that's what Tuberville wants. I think that's what everyone wants. It's just can he go out and do it? And I think he will. And I think by the end of the season, you will see Cody Burns getting the majority of the snaps. And that doesn't mean that Todd will be on the bench the whole game towards the end of the season, but I think you will see Cody Burns towards the end take the reins and be the starter on this team.
Gabe Harris writes for collegefootballnews.com, covers the SEC. All right, I'm going to read what you wrote about Arkansas here. All right, Nutt gone, McFadden gone, Jones gone, Marcus Monk gone, Casey Dick still here. Ouch. All right, I'm throwing you the wolves, baby.
I think that's just because of the reputation. You just think of Arkansas when they had Houston Nutt with McFadden and Felix Jones and those type of guys. And I think that it was hard for Casey Dick to, in that offense, to really show his skills. He's got a strong arm. I think he can do some things. I think Bobby Petrino is one of the best quarterback coaches in the country, and probably only Spurrier might be better, and even that's debatable. And I think that he'll do some good things. But I just think looking into the season, I think it is going to be hard without a real strong threat at the running back position and losing Marcus Monk and Peyton Hillis too, who was big out of the backfield, a good receiver out of the backfield. I think there are going to be some growing pains with that offense. I think he can do it, and I think Petrino will put him in the right situations, the right spots to put up some points, and so we will see. It just a lot of times in the big games, Casey just did not seem to come through. So it just depends on the situations that Petrino puts him in. I think he's got a chance, but it's going to be hard, especially at first. Luckily, their schedule, they got a couple of pretty easy wins, but then they move into the meat of it. Texas, Bama, Florida, Auburn. That's a tough stretch. Even they get two of them at home, but it's going to be hard, and we'll just see how he takes to it. If they don't get off to a good start against Western Illinois and Louisiana Monroe and get some confidence, I think it will be a long season.
Gabe Harris with us from collegefootballnews.com. What is, from your perspective, you're in Birmingham, what is the outsider looking in perspective of the Razorbacks with Bobby Petrino here? What do most people, they're picked last in a lot of the preseason pubs. What are most people saying as far as wins and losses outside of the state of Arkansas about this year's Razorback team?
Well, even though they're going to struggle, their schedule sets up pretty favorably, and I think a lot of the Western teams, especially Mississippi State and Ole Miss, I think are very winnable games. I think they can win 7 ball games this year and get back to a bowl game. Will they beat Texas or Auburn, those types of teams? I don't think so, but they have a chance to go to a bowl game. I think anything less than a bowl will be the disappointment to Arkansas fans, and that's what everyone seems to think around here. I think Ole Miss is going to be improved, but I think Arkansas will be fired up for that game, and I think that they will win that one in Fayetteville, which is a big swing game for them this year, and I think Mississippi State is going to drop down a little bit. I don't think they're going to get the breaks that they got last year. Their offense barely got by. I don't think they're going to get those same breaks this year, and so I think they'll get those 2 wins. Beating Alabama is not out of the question in Fayetteville. They can do that. They can beat Alabama. So it depends on how they go in those 3 games. That'll determine their season. If they go, from 4-8 to 7-5 or 8-4, those are the most important games I think on Arkansas' schedule, and they could go either way.
See, I think you're right on the money with most. I think your 7-win number is a little bit higher than the majority of the fans, at least the ones I've talked to. But I think you're dead on the money about the Ole Miss game coming up. Gabe, we appreciate your time this afternoon. You can read Gabe Harris at collegefootballnews.com. It's part of the Scout.com network. Gabe, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Gabe Harris with us this afternoon. A little SEC football talk.